Hi, it's Liz. Today I have downloaded a file that we are going to embroider. So as I'm starting off on this embroidery journey, I'm keeping things very simple. I'm not getting into the digitizing world yet. It is something obviously that's piquing my interest, but it is a whole nother realm of information. So I'm keeping it very simple, just figuring out what I'm going to be doing with the embroidery machine. So I have purchased a file and I have transferred it on my USB stick. So just on the side here is where I would put my memory stick, and then just this button here is for the files. So just on the file screen, there's a sewing machine icon and then there's a memory stick icon. If I just click the sewing machine icon, it just gives me the file folder and it just says coffee time. You just want to go back. So I'm going to exit that and then just hit the file folder. Up here is actually the USB folder. So I want to access that. And I want to select my JEF file. And yes, it's a firetruck. So I have 5 options. I can do it in a 3x2 all the way up to a 5x3.3. All right, so I'm going to choose the largest file for this one. I'm just going to see what the size is. Alright, so it's just asking for an SQ14B hoop, so this is the size of the hoop. You can just match it up to down here. It tells you what size it is. So I'm just going to be using some white cotton canvas. I'm going to be using tearaway stabilizer because that's what I have right now. I have read that like cutaway can be a bit better and more sturdy, just depending on what you need it for. I apparently bought some cutaway. I just have to, you know, organize it and find it. So this first one is just going to be a straight stitch and we're just going to see how it's going to go. So it does tell me on here it takes 8 colors and the time is going to be 27 minutes. That is going to be your total stitch time, but you have to remember because you're only having one thread on there and it's 8 colors, we're going to have to be stopping and starting quite a bit. So that's just something that we have to think about. All right, I have the backing of my hoop. I have my stabilizer. So I am feeling this stabilizer is feeling a lot thicker than my other stabilizer that I use, so I'm wondering if this is my cutaway stabilizer and I just didn't label it. So I'm going to go ahead and smoosh it in there and then I'm going to tighten it up on the side down here. Alright, we are hooped up and we are going to attach it. So let's change the color to the pink. I think it's a bit tricky because we're using what we have. I'm just using confetti cotton thread, and so I'm not too sure how these colors are gonna mesh up because I'm not using like their recommended colors. I'm gonna use the pink like it is, but I'm using my pink that I have. Alright, so the pink has just stopped and says raise presser foot. So now it's telling me to add this bluish turquoise color. So I am going to experiment with this. It's giving me the outline. So what I could do, because I kind of want to make this a patch, I'm not putting on any clothing. I could leave it as is, and then at the end I could do like a use fray check, and I could use like a lighter to clean it up and trim around the edges. But what I was thinking is I'm gonna see if I can not puncture the stabilizer, but I'm gonna cut as close to here because I still have a black border to go around the edges, but I'm gonna see if that's gonna clean it up a little bit. So I don't want to move this at all because that is what is gonna be critical, but I want to make a little snip just on this top layer, and then I want to get into, I don't know, gonna do it, doing it. I have seen people use like curved scissors so they can get in and do it flat and then the actual edges curve. There's little fibers everywhere, but that's what I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna cut this area just a bit bigger, put it back on, and let's keep going. All right, let's go. right, that was a pretty short run, and it just went around the edges. All right, now it's asking for black. All right, let's do the black. All right, so it stopped, raised the presser foot, and it wants me to do now a light gray. So we'll get a little bit closer, but you can see that obviously I have lots of frayed edges here that I'm gonna have to clean up. All right, let's go ahead and start our fourth color. So the gray just did these little dots, so on to the next color. So I think the next color is black. I should probably have like a style guide with all the right colors. This one is KT308. I ended up, after it was stitched, I cut out the fabric around the outline. This one is KT609. This one went over top of the pink stitch. Then this one was KT707. I thought it was a black. It's more like an olive green grayish, but I next time probably would use a black. This one over these two stitches and created a thick border. This one is KT903, and that created the detailing that you see at the back on the fire engine. This one is now KT302. That's what I'm going to be using for the fire engine red. The black one, it's calling for another black, so I'm going to be using KT201. I'll probably be, if I do this again, replacing it with that color. So I think there's going to be one more color, and I'm going to use, I think it's going to be a yellow for the lights and everything. I'm going to use KT400 for the yellow, and that will be the full collection. All right, so red is next. It tells me to remove the presser foot, and we are done. So it looks pretty nice. I'm not super happy that I can't read that though, so I'll probably contact the seller and just let them know. I also noticed that for each kind of curve that the thread was stopping and starting. I don't have any it's like thread breaks, but I don't have to do any clipping. So this must be the cutaway fabric because it's definitely not tearing away. So I'm going to cut into it and give it a cleanup, and then I will show you the end. All right, so before I take my lighter to the fabric that I just did, that's what I was afraid of. It does leave like a brown mark. We shall try. You know what? Because it's a darker, it kind of melts into it. Well, my room smells like burning plastic, but I suggest that you use like a little torch. Otherwise, you're going to just hold it. Otherwise, it gets really, really hot on your thumb, and I'm not going to complete this without getting a little torch thing, but that's what it looks like. And I will put it here so it'll focus. And then the back has all the little threads, so I have to clip those still, but it looks so cute. Like, you can put heat and bond on the back of this for if I was doing it as a patch. So what I was also thinking is putting felt on this, on the backing, and you could use it for kids' stories and stuff like that about a fire truck and the journey that goes through. Of course, I need to practice on cleaning up my edges before I do that. So how profitable would this be on a home sewing machine? It's a bit different, right? Because it took over half an hour, took 26 minutes if I was just doing the stitches. And that's not including changing out the thread and cutting around the material to make a patch. So if I was, you know, just selling this as a felt story, you would have to maybe sell individual pieces. If I was sewing this like on a shirt, it would be very difficult because how would you make up your time on that, because you're doing already half an hour and you still haven't recouped your cost for any of the like blank sweatshirt material or whatever you're going to put on it. So I think this is more feasible to sell as like a patch or a felt story or something individual rather than putting it on a shirt or something. Of course, you can do it for, you know, home use and stuff like that, but for a business, because it has multiple different colors and also you're changing out your thread, but also the time that it takes to stitch it. So of course, if you have like, you know, a business, it's going to be completely different because you're going to have maybe multiple machines that you'll be running simultaneously, so that it cuts down your cost of time, and your machine is probably going to be way faster than mine. So just some things to think about. Because we're doing this on a home embroidery machine, we have to think about our costs and what that looks like, and how to recoup it in the most efficient way so we can build up the business that way. All right, it is the next day. I did message the seller yesterday and just saying like, hey, can you remove the font on the firetruck? It's unreadable. And they messaged me back, and I also asked if they could make the outline a lot thicker, like a bit thicker, so that it's able to cover more space. They're amazing. They got back to me like right away, like the next day, with the file already done. So actually it's a bit of a different format stitches. So same, first two colors are going to be your outline, but then it's going to go right into the red, and then it goes into the yellow, and then at the end it's going to do all the black. The blue's in there too, but it's the black is going to be, I think this, let me just I don't want to do anything. I just started to do the outline. I just did it in black. I don't need it as a separate color. So my first two colors I'm going to do in just black to get that outline. Then I'll switch over to the red, the yellow, and then I'll follow the sequence of either blue or black. But the black is going to be the last thing. So it goes over, and I'm hoping then it encapsulates like the yellow headlights that were just not fully inside the black lines. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll just show you. It's going to be the same, you know, process of changing out thread and all that stuff, but I'll show you at the end how it turned out. All right, so it has just completed. It looks so nice. So some things did change, but the first one was the layout, but it didn't include these ones, so the little headlight things. So it's actually not on fabric. And then the stitching is still not correct, but it is now the firetruck, the last thing. So if I didn't want firetruck written on there, then I could just omit the last step, which is really nice. I don't need any additional software to do that. So how it embroiders, it has two really thin outlines, and then you embroider all the red, and then it embroiders the yellow parts, and then you embroider the blue, the window, and then you embroider this part, which I did gray, but you could also do it in a lighter shade of blue. And then you embroider this thick black margin. So what I think I will do next time is I will let everything embroider except the black margin. I will cut it out then, because then this will have it being on fabric still, and I can cut around it, and then you get a really nice border for that. And so it looks really great. I'm gonna pop it out, and you know, it's great when you can work with a seller who is open to changes and open to feedback, and I'm just gonna give that a nice little cut, but definitely a lot better than the first one. My edges, I was able to trim it up a lot closer, but also the border around there is a lot thicker as well, so that makes it a lot easier. So I'll do another video for when we do applique for this. So just a little note about the thread. I did have quite a bit of breaking with the red thread, so it didn't break as much with the black, but if you can see, it does. It's starting to, so I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but what it's doing is it's pilling it together, and I think that's maybe because of how high the machine is running. So I am just going to be using what I have. I'm not buying anything special for this. I have lots of this thread, so I do want to use it up before I purchase anything else. But it is definitely a factor, because the red definitely was a lot of a struggle for this one. So it's definitely something to think about, because in the long term we can't have all those break threads. It takes too long otherwise. So I think it's an important thing that I'll have to switch to some other brand, but definitely just using what we have for now. So thanks so much for watching. I hope this video has helped you along our embroidery journey, and let me know if you have any questions or comments down below, and what was your favorite part and what design you're going to be doing next. I will talk to you later. Bye!